All right, girls, this is section 9 of topic 3, the role of prices. So, as a consumer, you have the power to choose what price to buy an item at. Will you pay $20, $50, or $200 for a new pair of sneakers? If we were in class together and I surveyed the whole class, I bet there would be some girls that would buy sneakers at a $200 price. Not everybody, but some. Same with 50, and most girls would pay 20, right? So in a free market economy, which we have in the United States, prices offer a number of advantages to both consumers and producers. Simple purchases would be much more complicated and inefficient without the price system, and we'll see how as we go through the lesson. Right? So prices communicate to buyers and sellers whether goods are in short supply or readily available. Okay? So in that video that we watched about the Cabbage Patch Kid craze of the 80s, right? That sudden increase in demand told suppliers, so they told the company, the manufacturer of Cabbage Patch Kids, that people wanted more of the doll. If consumers are willing to pay a higher price, that tells the manufacturer or the firm that they can earn more of a profit by producing more. So I hope this just makes sense. If people really, really want a product, whether it's a Cabbage Patch Kid, whether it's a Kylie Jenner lip kit, or whether it's toilet paper, that we're dealing with now, the manufacturers are going to make more of that product. It's going to make the price go up, and it's also going to provide an incentive for that firm that makes the product to produce more, right? Because the bottom line is they want to make a profit. So if they realize they can make an amazing profit off of these Cabbage Patch Kid styles, they're going to make more and more and more. Okay? So just like in other concepts or a lot of concepts in economics, this is really common sense. So prices are very flexible. They can be easily increased to solve a problem of a shortage, and they can just as easily be decreased to eliminate a problem of a surplus. So we'll go through some examples of how prices affect shortages and how prices affect surplus, right? So prices, again, it's very easy. You are Stop and Shop. You just, go into your master computer and change that price for toilet paper. So when it scans, instead of being, $5.99 for 4, now it's $8.99 for 4. Same with Target, same with the Gap. They just, quickly change the price in their system. It scans and, the price is changed. So it's very flexible. So if there's a supply shock, and that's a sudden shortage of a good. So say we're talking about wheat. We're talking about agriculture, right? There's a sudden shortage of wheat. Now wheat, you can't produce that more quickly, right? You need time to plant a new crop. So raising prices is the quickest way to resolve the shortage, It will reduce the quantity demanded, okay? So if you don't have a lot of wheat, you can't produce anymore, you raise that price, less people will buy it, so it'll reduce the quantity demanded, okay? Consumers who can afford the higher price will be the only consumers still in the market, and the market will settle at a new equilibrium price. So, the same thing would happen, take like a luxury car. Say there's a shortage of Tesla cars, okay? And again, it takes a while to make that car in the factory. The quickest way to resolve that shortage is to, again, up the price, and then only certain consumers will be able to afford that car. They're the only ones in the market. And then Tesla will price that car based on who's available and willing to pay for it. So you can think of prices as a traffic light. If you're a consumer, a low price is the green light to buy more, okay? Red, you're going to buy less, right? So a high price, if you're a producer, so if you're the maker of that Tesla car, the green is going to signal high price, produce more. And the reason is because, of course, you can make more money. If you're selling a product at a low price, you don't want to really sell too many at that price because you're not going to make a profit. Okay, so that would be a red light. Okay. Another role of prices is that the price system is free. The free market system costs nothing to administer. The free market pricing distributes goods through millions of decisions made by consumers and suppliers. We've talked about this now at length as we've talked about supply and demand. We aren't going to buy certain goods and services at high prices. So that is us, our consumer sovereignty, signaling to the producers what we want and and also the price we're willing to pay for it. Choice and efficiency. Prices help us choose among similar products. If you think, again, we talked in class a lot about, we have so many options when we go to the store. That's my cuckoo clock. We talked about the example, I know in one class, about shampoo. If you go to Target, there's 30 brands of shampoo you can choose from, and what determines what shampoo you buy might not be 100% on the price of it, but that absolutely is one of the important factors that will make your decision for you. So the same thing with those sneakers. You'll buy a certain pair of sneakers for a specific price. So would you spend $20, $50, or $200, right? So prices is really, again, you probably never thought about this in terms of economics, but in your everyday life, it's really an easy way for you to narrow down your choices. I mean, if you go get coffee in the morning, are you paying $4.50 for Starbucks, or are you going to the deli on the corner and paying $1? Okay, that dollar coffee might not taste as good as Starbucks, but it's $1, so that's why you're choosing it, right? It's because of the price. Okay, and if you're the producer, right, the maker of the products, prices allow you to kind of target that audience. If you are a high-end company and you are selling, very, fine luxury items, you sell a purse for $600, you're targeting a certain audience. You're targeting people that can afford a $600 purse, okay? So these are some ads that I pulled off the web. This is a very handsome guy. I think he's in a speedboat. He's got like a velvet jacket on. Here's a father son doing homework. Maybe they're home virtual learning. But again, he's all dressed up. The kid is in a sweater and polo shirt and a watch. Here's Chanel that we all know. So, I know you probably can't see them too well. That's a Patek Philippe watch. So these are all, probably from, a very fancy magazine or online ads, right? They're all for luxury goods. I think this one was Ralph Lauren. Again, that was Patek Philippe watches, which are very expensive, and Chanel, right? So these are obviously appealing to a higher end buyer. All right, and just a few more things we're going to go through. So rationing, I don't know if you've ever heard of rationing. That's a system of allocating scarce goods. So scarce goods are goods that aren't readily available, and they can use criteria other than price. So if you think back when we talked about economic systems, centrally planning in the former Soviet Union, goods were often inexpensive, but people had to wait on long lines, for hours for eggs or soap. They were rationing products. The same thing happened in this country, so it's not necessarily a tenet of central planning, but during World War II, there were temporary price controls and shortages at home to ensure enough resources were available for the soldiers overseas. So there were certain goods like metal and rubber, and they needed those products to help the war effort. So they rationed those items. They made them scarce at home so they could be, again, used for the war effort. And lastly, the black market. I had a whole discussion about this last year with one of my classes that I didn't even know. There's the black market, and then there's the deep web and the dark web. And, for our purposes, it's I don't need to know all the dirty details of those places. But the black market is, it's a market which goods are sold illegally, right? Without regard for government controls on price or quantity. Um, so if you're buying cigarettes off a truck somewhere, they don't have excise taxes on them. The government is unable to control the supply of goods passing through the economy. It's allowing consumers to pay more so they can buy a product when rationing makes it otherwise available. So if there is an instant where products are being rationed, you can, I don't know, say, during Corona, they start rationing toilet paper, right? You can only buy, and they did, you can only buy one thing at Target, one big thing at Costco. But you find someone who, had, their entire basement filled with toilet paper, and you go to their house and you're buying it for triple the price. In a theory, that could be considered the black market. They're selling those prices illegally. Those products illegally, and I'm pretty sure this happened with hand sanitizer. An independent seller was selling hand sanitizer on Amazon, and they were, increasing the price exponentially, and their goods were taken off the site. Anyway, I digress here. Okay, so efficient resource allocation, all of the advantage of a free market allow prices to allocate or distribute, kind of like that invisible hand with self-interest and competition. There's really no central control. Land, labor, capital are going to be used for their most valuable purposes. Therefore, resources are going go to uses that consumers value most highly, right? So that's going to take place without central control. And of course, businesses want to make money. That is the bottom line. So they will find out what consumers want and provide it because they're going to make money. If we all want, minivans all of a sudden, then car companies are going to make minivans because we're going to buy them. Consumers will buy them and they'll make money, right? If a heat wave is forecast, consumers will purchase more air conditioners, right? The price of air conditioners would increase. Think of all the products that people are buying now that were home, face masks. We're buying plastic gloves. We're buying just hair dye, right? All of that is increasing in price because people can't go to the hair salon, right? You have to dye your hair at home. There's all sorts of items now that are increasing in price because all of a sudden there's a demand for it because we're now all home. I saw certain gaming systems, people are stuck at home, so they want to go back into their youth and they're playing Xbox again. They're playing PlayStation. I mean, I know even for my kids, I've been buying them. I'm on our second new game of Corona, and the games are not a little more expensive, not terribly, but they're taking longer to ship, right? So, things that might not have been as expensive 3 months ago, I mean, hand sanitizer for one, now is. And then, of course, there are some problems that we encounter. There are some exceptions to that idea that markets are always going to efficiently allocate the resources. So if there's something called imperfect competition, if only a few firms are selling a product, there might not be enough competition to lower the prices. So if you are the only manufacturer of, a certain type of, let's say, orange juice, right? If Tropicana and Florida's Best are the only manufacturers of orange juice, there's not enough competition to kind of regulate that price. So that's imperfect competition, but there are many manufacturers of orange juice. If there's any sort of negative externality, there's side effects of production that lead to unintended costs like air and water pollution, that could affect the price, but it's really not because of the allocation of resources. That has to do with, again, that pollution, that negative externality. And then, again, imperfect information. If you're a buyer and you don't have enough information, you might not make the best choice, right? Just because you don't have everything you need to make an educated decision. All right, so a quick review of this section. Prices act as incentive for buyers and sellers. Prices are signals that tell buyers and sellers what to do or not to do. Prices provide a common language. We all know if we see a shirt for $10, we know basically, what that price point means. Prices allow producers to allocate their resources efficiently. Again, producers want to make a profit. They want to provide consumers with items that they want to buy, again, so they can make a profit. And that's it for topic 3.